If only they knew the bride was already a spirit wife, they wouldn't have completed the wedding.
Nobody told the band to stop playing, but they stopped. One moment, the hall was full of music, laughter, and the smell of good food. The next moment, silence fell like a heavy curtain. Every eye turned to the altar. Tara stood in her wedding gown. White lace, pearl buttons, a veil that touched the floor. She was the most beautiful bride anyone in Lagos had seen that year. But she was not moving. She stood at the entrance, hands gripping her bouquet so tight, the flowers began to crack. Her warm smile was gone. Something else had taken its place. Deep, ancient fear. The wedding planner whispered from the side, "Tara, walk. The cameras are rolling." Tara did not walk. A small girl, no older than 6, tugged her mother's sleeve and pointed under the bride's gown. "Mama," she whispered loudly, "why is there mud on her feet?" The mother looked down. Her breath caught. The floor was clean. No one had tracked mud inside, and yet there it was, dark, wet mud, right beneath the bride's white shoes. Then the lights flickered, and a voice, deep, slow, unmistakably male, said, "She is already mine." Let me take you back. This story did not begin in that wedding hall. It began in a cramped room in Mushin, where the walls sweated in the heat and the smell of old stew never left. Tara was 23, and she was tired. Not the kind sleep fixes, the kind that settles in the bones when you have watched life pass by for too long. She shared that room with her mother, her brother, and a ceiling fan that only worked when it felt like it. Every morning she woke to the same sounds. The generator outside, the landlord's footsteps, the noise of a city that never waited. She worked at a fabric shop for a salary that disappeared before the month ended. She was not ugly. Men looked at her everywhere, but none of it became the life she wanted. That life lived on her phone screen, glossy, golden, just out of reach. She watched those videos every night, rooftop pools, luxury cars, tables of food costing more than her salary. One evening, Solape sat beside her and watched her scroll. "Not every beautiful life is clean," Solape said quietly. Tara said nothing. She kept scrolling. Solape had known Tara since primary school. She knew her the way only old friends do. Every wound, every dream, every time she had nearly given up. That was why she worried. "You remember Chisholm?" Solape asked one Sunday afternoon. They sat outside on the landing eating ground nuts, watching the street below. "Chisholm from C Block?" Tara asked. "Yes. She changed overnight. New phone, new clothes, new everything. 6 months later, nobody saw her again." Tara cracked a shell. "That's Chisholm's story, not mine." "That's what Chisholm said too." "Solape." Tara's voice sharpened. "Poor people are always told to be patient. Be humble, wait your turn. Meanwhile, others skip the line every single day. I am tired of waiting." Solape looked at her for a long moment. She wanted to say more, but she knew Tara's mind. Once it was made up, it was made up. The afternoon passed quietly. Then, as the sun went down and street lamps flickered on, a sleek black car turned onto their road. Too clean for that neighborhood. It stopped near their building. A woman stepped out. Tall, polished, wearing perfume that reached them from the ground floor. She looked up. "Which one of you is Tara?" The woman's name was Bukola Royale. She was somewhere between 30 and 40, the kind of age that is hard to place on a well-maintained woman. Smooth skin, long nails, a silk blouse that cost more than Tara's entire wardrobe. She said she had noticed Tara at a small fashion event 2 weekends ago. Tara had stood near the back all evening, feeling out of place. She had not thought anyone noticed her. Bukola had. "You have presence," Bukola said, sitting in their plastic chair like it was a throne. "The kind rooms respond to, you just don't know how to use it yet." She offered Tara a job as a hostess at an elite product launch the following Saturday. New outfit, new hair, makeup, all covered. A car would come. It sounded too easy. Solape stood in the doorway, arms folded, saying nothing, but her eyes said everything. After Bukola left, Tara held the business card in one hand and the dress bag in the other. The fabric was soft. Softer than anything she had ever owned. She pressed it to her chest. "This is my chance," she whispered. Solape watched from the doorway. She did not say a word. The rooftop was nothing like anywhere Tara had stood before. Glass walls, lights that shifted color slowly, music that did not shout. It simply floated. Women in gowns that moved like water. Men in fitted suits checking watches that cost small houses. Waiters gliding in silence, holding trays of drinks that glowed in the dark. Tara had been to parties before. Loud, compound celebrations with plastic chairs and borrowed speakers. But this felt like another country entirely. Bukola walked beside her, whispering instructions under her breath. Don't look too interested. Look like you belong. Smile before you answer. Never say where you are really from. Say Victoria Island. By the middle of the night, Tara had talked to a senator's aide and clinked glasses with a woman who owned 3 hotels. She was good at this. Shockingly good. Then she felt it. Heavy, deliberate eyes on her from across the room. She turned slowly. An older man in a grey agbada stood completely still, studying her. Not the way men usually looked at her. This was the gaze of someone who collected things very carefully. He leaned toward Bukola and asked one quiet question. Who brought this one? Bukola explained the rules on the drive home, her voice calm as a textbook. Nothing here is truly yours. The dress goes back. The car belongs to the agency. The invitation was borrowed from my name. In this world, you perform the life before you own it. Tara stared at the Lagos night rushing past. Street hawkers, motorcycle riders, potholes, the city she had always lived in but never escaped. And the men? Tara asked. Bukola did not blink. Rich men want gratitude, presence, silence. They want to feel powerful without asking for it. Give them that. And doors open. The man watching me tonight? Chief Balogun, Bukola said simply. Who is he? Powerful, careful, very generous to the right people. When they arrived, Bukola did not glance at the peeling walls or tired lighting. She lifted a diamond necklace, or something that looked exactly like one, and placed it around Tara's neck. She adjusted the clasp without looking up. Tomorrow, another gathering, she said. Smile at Chief. Don't ask questions. The car door closed. Tara stood alone on the dark street, fingers touching the necklace at her throat, feeling the cool weight of it settle against her skin. 3 weeks later, Tara's life looked different. The room was still the same walls, same noisy fan. But outside the room, everything else had shifted. She had a real phone. Cash had come, not salary, not a loan. Cash in an envelope from Chief Balogun's assistant, with no explanation and no signature required. She had new clothes, truly hers to keep. She posted pictures, soft ones, a new bag, a rooftop without a name, a glowing meal. She was careful not to look rushed or boastful. Her followers grew fast. Notifications came like steady rain. Then the strangest thing happened. Neighbors who once passed her on the stairs without looking up began greeting her warmly each morning. The woman from the ground floor, who once complained about noise from her brother, sent up a bowl of soup. The fabric shop owner called and offered a raise, weeks after Tara had quietly stopped showing up for work. That evening, Solape came and scrolled through the pictures in silence. She studied each one carefully. Then she set the phone on the bed and looked up. Who paid for all this, Tara? Tara met her eyes. She said nothing at all. The praise was intoxicating. Comments arrived every day. People she had not spoken to in years appeared in her messages. Old classmates, acquaintances, even a girl who had once mocked her second-hand shoes, now leaving heart emojis under every post. In the market, the cloth seller called her Auntie Tara. On the street, heads turned. In the building, she was no longer invisible. She was a topic. For the first time in her life, Tara felt truly seen. Not seen the way poor people are seen, dismissed and tolerated. Seen the way the world sees people it has decided matter. She knew the glow was borrowed. She knew some of it was staged. But she also knew how it felt to walk into a room and watch conversations shift toward her. And that feeling was stronger than any warning. Bukola noticed the change and smiled slowly. "You're learning," she said over lunch at a restaurant where even the napkins were folded like origami. Then She set down her fork. There is a higher circle above this one. Very few women reach it, the ones who do never go back to ordinary. She paused. It only opens for girls who can endure pressure. The crack appeared on a Tuesday evening. Tara arrived early to a private gathering in a borrowed mansion in Lekki. Tall columns, an indoor fountain, carpets that swallowed every footstep. Bukola had given her real responsibility for the first time. Help coordinate. What she found in the back rooms was not meant for her eyes. Two influencers she followed online argued bitterly over a single designer handbag. Both insisted it was theirs for the night's shoot. A stylist stood watching them with exhausted eyes. In another room, a photo shoot was underway in a borrowed space. Someone kept adjusting the camera angle to hide a watermark on the pool wall. Then, Tara passed a half-open door and heard Bukola's voice. Low, flat, businesslike. She was negotiating, describing girls by number, talking about availability and pricing. Tara stood still. Her chest went cold. She stepped back quietly, but not quietly enough. Bukola appeared in the doorway, phone in hand, eyes sharp. She studied Tara for a long moment. Then she said softly, "Now that you know, you can't act innocent anymore." She smiled. That smile, gentle, unhurried, certain, was the most frightening thing Tara had ever seen in her life. February brought more gifts and more silence. Chief Balagun's interest in Tara deepened. He sent things without explanation. A bracelet, a phone upgrade, an envelope delivered by a driver who did not wait. He invited her to private dinners at hotels where menus had no prices. She told herself she was only accepting gifts, that nothing was being asked, that she remained in control. But the conditions came slowly, never spoken, only understood. Be available on short notice. Never post from certain locations. Never ask who else was in the building. And above all, silence. One evening, Solape came and found Tara dressing to leave. She recognized the look. Careful makeup, the good bag, the controlled expression. Leave this before it goes too far. Tara fastened her earrings in the mirror. You always say that, because it keeps being true. Solape. Her voice was gentle, but final. I am not going backwards. You only say these things because you have stayed still while I have moved. Solape flinched. She picked up her bag and walked out quietly. Tara watched her go. She turned back to the mirror. She did not feel good about those words, but she did not take them back. Bukola's next instruction arrived with no softness. Poor must never be seen on you. Not in your voice, not in your posture, not in your story. She handed Tara a list. A new way of speaking, how to soften her accent, how to sit, what schools to mention when asked. Tara followed every instruction. She filled her phone with staged photographs from borrowed apartments, dressed to look like her own. She changed her username. She rewrote her bio until it said nothing and implied everything. She deleted old pictures. The compound birthday photo where her mother wore a faded Ankara she had owned for 7 years. The graduation image showing chipped paint on the wall behind her. She was building a new person, piece by piece. Then one afternoon, her mother appeared at the door of a quiet restaurant in Victoria Island. Wrong shoes, old wrapper, the smell of camphor and home. She had come with food, a cooler of jollof rice. 2 buses from Mushin told no one she was coming. The people at the table turned to look. Tara felt her face go rigid. She looked at her mother once. Then she looked away, as if she did not know her. She cried that night, the way adults cry when ashamed, quietly, face pressed into a pillow. Her mother had stood in the restaurant doorway for a moment. Then she turned and walked out with her cooler. 2 buses home. Not a word spoken. Solape heard from Tara's brother. She did not call. She did not visit. The silence between them was heavier than anything she could have said. Tara told herself she had no choice. That the people at that table would have asked questions her mother could not answer. But the truth sat heavier than those excuses. She had looked at her own mother and chosen not to see her. She told herself she would fix it later, apologize properly, bring her somewhere real when things were stable, make it count. She sat up in the dark and wiped her face. She looked at her hands. They were steady. She hated that they were steady. She told herself, when this life is properly built, She would bring her mother somewhere clean and honest, and it would mean something real. Then she lay back down. She closed her eyes and slept. And in her dream, a faceless man placed a ring on her finger. The night of the warning. The air smelled of petrol and rain. Tara was returning from a gathering she was not supposed to mention, in a part of Lagos she rarely visited. The women in the car were quiet. Whatever had happened inside had taken the words out of all of them. At a junction, a commotion erupted. Two large men dragged a girl from the car ahead, screaming, struggling, sequined dress catching the streetlight. She had entered an arrangement and not honored it. The men were not interested in explanations. Someone in Tara's car whispered, "She thought she was special." Another stared ahead. Nobody stays special in these arrangements. Tara said nothing. Then she glanced at the side window as they passed a parked car. In the tinted glass reflection, she could see her own back seat, the women, the darkness, and standing directly behind her seat, where nobody was sitting, was a figure, tall, pale, a man without a face. She spun around. Nobody was there. She looked back at the glass. The reflection was normal. Her hands were shaking. She gripped her bag hard. "I want out," she said to Bukola. Bukola replied without blinking. "Out? To where?" The system moves fast when it is done with you. Tara noticed it in small ways first. An invitation that arrived too late to prepare. A gathering she heard about from someone else. Chief Balagun's messages growing shorter. Then slower. Then days apart. Then a new girl appeared in Bukola's circle. She was 19. Bright-eyed and unguarded, exactly as Tara had once been. Bukola smiled at her with the same warmth she had once aimed at Tara, the same patient eye, measuring what could be used. The replacement had arrived. The machine was already moving on. Tara went to Bukola directly, her voice even. "I have been doing everything asked of me. Now I am being moved aside?" Bukola looked at her with tired patience. "No one is pushed. People fade when they stop being interesting. And how do I stop fading?" Bukola stirred her tea. "You have reached the limit of what this level offers. There is a different door, below this world. It does not come from men or money." She met Tara's eyes. "It makes the favor last." "What kind of door?" Tara asked. Bukola set down her cup. "The kind that opens once and never closes." The compound was not on any road anyone used. They drove 40 minutes, leaving tarmac behind and entering a dirt path through old bush. The air changed as they went deeper. Heavier, thick with something between smell and sound. More like pressure in the ears. Behind a burnt warehouse and rusted gates, they entered a space that felt older than the city. Leaves carpeted the ground. A low chanting moved beneath the earth like a slow, steady pulse. Babaduro was inside. He was old, but not frail. His eyes held the stillness of someone who had heard every human problem and was no longer surprised by any of them. He wore plain clothes. No performance. He told Tara to sit. He listened without interruption. When she finished, he sat quietly. Then he stood, reached into a leather pouch, and looked at her. "You want a husband? A crown? A life above those who looked down on you?" Her breath caught. She had not said all of that. He held her gaze. "I can open the gate," he said, "but you will belong to what opens it." She should have stood and walked away. She did not stand up. The ritual happened at midnight. A bowl of water with something dark dissolved inside. Ash. A cracked mirror. Smoke rising from within the walls with no fire visible anywhere. A vow spoken by Babaduro in a language she did not recognize. She repeated sounds she did not understand. She told herself it was symbolic. Old tradition. Something her grandmother's generation believed in firmly, not her own. Before she left, he gave her instructions. Do not rush into marriage. Pay close attention to your dreams. Never dismiss strange signs. Above all, never break what has been silently agreed upon tonight. What exactly was agreed? She asked. He looked at her calmly. You will understand, he said, when you try to give to another what you have already given away. She folded those words into a small corner of her mind and covered them with more urgent thoughts. She was driven home in the dark. She bathed. She changed. She lay down on her bed. In the morning, she looked at her right hand. A ring-shaped bruise circled her finger. Perfect. Dark. Clean at the edges. She rubbed it under the running tap 3 times. It did not go away. In 1 month, everything changed. Tara's skin took on a quality that people noticed but could not name. She walked into rooms and conversations shifted toward her without reason. Strangers smiled freely. Opportunities arrived quietly, like they had been waiting just outside a door now open. Chief Balogun called more respectfully than before. Money came steadily. Her profile grew without effort. And then Tunde appeared. He was not from Bukola's world, not old money or political power. He was 31, a tech founder from Ibadan, quiet-spoken, with a face that laughed easily. He met Tara at a product launch she attended as a real guest, genuinely a guest for the first time. He did not look at her the way men in that world did. He looked at her like she was a person worth listening to. They talked for 3 hours straight. He called the next day, and the day after. On the 4th week, sitting at the waterfront, he said, "I want to marry you. I am not interested in wasting time." Tara went home and lay awake. In the corner of the room, a shadow sat at the edge of her bed. By morning, it was gone. The engagement was everything Tara had imagined. Tunde's family came properly. Wine, kola nut, a speech from his father that made her mother cry with joy. It was the first time in years Tara had watched her mother cry from happiness rather than pain. That moment alone almost broke her into honesty. Almost. The pictures went online. The internet celebrated. People who had ignored her for years left warm messages. Tunde was kind in ways that still surprised her. He asked about her day and waited for the real answer. He did not need her to perform. He spoke about the future with a steadiness that felt like something she had never had. Safety. For the first time, Tara let herself believe she could have a clean life, leave the borrowed world, build something honest. She told herself the past was sealed. What Baba Duro had done was old superstition. The bruise had faded. The shadows were just exhaustion. She said this every single day. Then Bukola sent a message. 3 words, no greeting. A warning has been issued. Below it, a voice note from Baba Duro, slow, certain. A promise has already been made. Do not force a second union. Bukola moved quietly and with great precision. She waited until the invitation cards were already printed, until the hall deposit was fully paid, until Tunde's family had arrived from Ibadan and every caterer was confirmed their menus. Then she released everything. Voice notes, hotel footage, receipts with names that should never have appeared anywhere. Enough detail to be believed, twisted just enough to stay untraceable. It spread through gossip blogs in hours and through group chats in minutes. By evening, Tara's name was a hot topic across 6 platforms at once. They called her fake. They called her dangerous and calculated. The same crowd who had written she deserves it was now screenshotting her old posts and sending them around. The people who had crowned her became the loudest voices tearing her down publicly. Chief Balogun disappeared. No call, no message. Simply gone. Bukola did not gloat. She did not need to. Tunde came to her apartment that night. He sat across from her, hands folded, eyes red. He was not shouting. That made it worse. "Tara," he said quietly. "Who are you, really?" She opened her mouth. Then something inside her hardened. "I need a few days," she said. When he was gone, Tara sat alone in the silence. She thought about Bukola, who had processed her, used her, and now that she was finally close to something real, had set fire to all of it. She thought about the years spent, the things she had done, the version of herself she had built inside that borrowed and staged world. She thought about Tunde, his patience, his decency, his simple question asked without cruelty or anger. He deserved the full truth. She had nearly given it to him. But what stopped her was the image of Bukola, sitting somewhere comfortable and completely untouched. No consequence for anything she had done to anyone at all. Tara stood up, picked up her bag, and walked out into the city night. She drove the roads she had taken before. Back along the old bush path, back past the rusted gates. The chanting beneath the earth had slowed to something barely audible. Baba Duro was in his chair. as if he had been waiting for her. She sat down across from him. She looked at him steadily and did not look away. "I want them to suffer," she said clearly. "All of them." Baba Duro warned her once. He spoke plainly. "Revenge power never travels alone. Once I hand you this fire, it will burn both ways." Tara said she understood. She did not understand. Within 2 weeks, Bukola's world cracked. A trusted client turned on her. Her accounts were flagged. Events were cancelled one after another. 2 girls from her circle went public on separate days, and their stories matched in ways impossible to dispute. Chief Balogun's name appeared in a newspaper, photograph, connections, phone number printed clearly. His allies went silent. His family released a statement that did not mention him by name. A blogger who had led the attack on Tara collapsed at a viewing party. Witnesses said she stood up suddenly, screaming that someone was standing behind her. No one was there. She was carried out and never returned online. The crowd turned again, as crowds always do. Now they said Tara had power. Some whispered it with fear, others with strange admiration. For 2 days, she felt something close to peace. Then she went home one evening, pushed open her bedroom door, and looked down. Muddy footprints crossed from the window to the edge of her bed. They stopped there. After that, the signs came daily. She would wash her face and hear breathing, slow, deliberate, close, in a room she had just checked. She woke at exactly 3 every morning to the sensation of weight at the edge of her mattress. When she turned on the lamp, nothing was there. Wedding fabrics were delivered 3 times. Each time, when she unfolded them, they were torn. Not cut, not frayed, but pulled apart as if by impatient hands. Once, she wiped the bathroom mirror clean and watched words form slowly in the steam. Bride of the night. She erased it with her palm. She did not sleep that night. Tunde's family priest came to bless the couple. He was a gentleman in his 70s who had done this for many families. He walked through every room without hesitation. He stood at the doorway of Tara's room for a long time. He did not enter. Head bowed, eyes closed. Then he turned to Tunde's mother and said something low. That evening at a petrol station, an old woman grabbed Tara's wrist. Her grip was too strong. "This marriage cannot hold," she said. "Another husband is already coming."
Both families decided to continue. Nobody said it aloud, but the decision sat in the air like heavy weather, and everyone breathed it in. The hall was paid for. Food had been ordered. Guests had traveled from far away. Public shame is a powerful engine, and it pushed everyone forward when wisdom should have made them stop entirely. The day came. White and gold flowers. Live music. Cameras everywhere. Tun stood at the altar in his navy agbada, hands clasped, quietly waiting. Tara stepped into the entrance of the hall. The music swelled. The crowd rose. Then everything began to break. Unseen hands yanked her veil backwards, snapping every pin from her hair. She gasped. The hall doors slammed shut. 2 overhead lights blew out. Then the mark appeared. Through the white fabric of her gown, something dark spread across her back, a symbol rising like ink through cloth. No seamstress had put it there. Women near the altar stepped back. One fainted and was carried out. In the very last row, Baba Duro sat uninvited. He closed his eyes and bowed his head slowly. They completed the claiming ritual that night. He whispered, "She is not just cursed." He paused. "She is married." Tunda was thrown from the altar by a force no one could see. He hit the floor hard, stunned, breathless. His mother screamed. His father pushed through the crowd. The hall fractured. Some guests ran. Others pressed forward, unable to look away. The cameras kept rolling. Tara stood still at the center. The presence was everywhere now. In the weight of the air. In the sound beneath the screaming, not quite a voice, not quite wind. Every candle bent the same direction, though there was no breeze. Baba Duro reached her side. "I should have told you from the start," he said. "The ritual that gave you the glow, the favor, every open door, it was not a gift. It was bride price. Every good thing you received after that night was payment from the unseen world. For you." Tara stared at him. "You were married the night you repeated those vows. You were never free after. How do I break it?" He looked at her. For the first time she saw something in his eyes she had never expected. Sorrow. Give everything back. The power. The life built on it. All of it. Or it takes Tunda instead. Tara stood still for a long moment. She thought about the room in Mushin. The sweating walls. Nights lying awake watching a phone screen glow, promising herself she would never die there. She thought about her mother, the quiet understanding in her eyes before she turned and walked out with the cooler. 2 buses home. Not a word. She thought about Soulape, eating groundnuts on the landing, who had said not every beautiful life is clean. Right about every single thing that came after. She thought about Tunda on the floor of his own wedding hall. She turned to face the room and raised her voice. There is something I must tell all of you. I should have said it long before today. She told them everything. When she finished, the hall was silent. She removed the bracelet from her wrist and placed it on the floor. The mark on her back faded. The pressure released like a long breath finally let go. The presence withdrew and was gone. Tunda stood up, alive and whole. The wedding was over. She went back to her mother's kitchen, to Soulape, to honesty. Not every shining door is a blessing. Not every shortcut is a road.
If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to be reminded. These things quietly change the world. Another story is coming very soon. Subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss it. Thank you for watching.